Here's your weekly SunStar Baguio Newsbits. A look at this week's headlines.
Regional Drug Enforcement Unit dissolved. Baguio newsstands given 6 months. LGUs give okay for interregional bus. Bliss enhances border control. No sanctions for POSD. Mayor's probe continues. And in sports, proposed bill banning minors in contact sports opposed.
And for the details. The Regional Drug Enforcement Unit of the Police Regional Office Cordillera or PROCOR was dissolved after 2 of its members were allegedly involved in the abduction and killing of a Baguio City resident. This report from Jonathan Yanes.
Brigadier General Arwin Pagkalinawan, PROCOR Director, said the order came as criminal and administrative charges are being readied by the Baguio City Police Office against 2 of 5 suspects identified in the death of 25-year-old Harjan Lagman in November this year. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong reiterated that he would not allow such actions and assured the relatives that appropriate charges will be filed against the suspects. BCPO and PROCOR are currently conducting an in-depth investigation to determine the motive for the crime. On November 16, Tublay Municipal Police Station personnel were approached by construction workers who reported a headless cadaver that was found along Labay-Lacaman Road. The headless cadaver was later identified as Lagman. Jonathan Llanes, SunStar Baguio.
In a meeting with newsstand vendors and owners on Tuesday morning, City Hall officials agreed to give vendors 6 months to operate their street-side stalls. Support from Maria Elena Catahan.
Journalists, publishers, and general managers of newspaper organizations all cried foul over the move to evict newspaper vendors of their stalls in a bid to assert their importance to the information chain. Based on the conditions set by the city, vendors are given until July 1st, 2021 to relocate and follow the plan of a 60-meter setback inside an establishment so customers will be off the sidewalk. All newspaper and watch repair stands are allowed to operate until December 31 this year in their respective spots but with updated business permits, while those located on narrow sidewalks will be relocated by January 2021. 4 department offices of the city were asked to come up with appropriate relocation sites and notify the affected vendors, while another department was tasked to help in coming up with new locations. Aldwin Quitasol, president of the Baguio Correspondents and Broadcasters Club Incorporated, said newspaper vendors are messengers of information and implored not to make their lives more difficult. The publication owners and the media were encouraged by the city to share responsibility in organizing these vendors into a cooperative and making favorable arrangements with building owners. Maria Elena Catahan, SunStar Baguio.
10 local governments have given the go signal for interregional routes of public utility buses and vans from Baguio City, pending final health and safety protocols.
On December 14, Engineer Januario Borillo, Chief of the Traffic and Transport Management Division of the City Engineering Office, said areas now ready to accept buses and vans coming from the city include 10 LGUs. It was in October when Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong said the city can accommodate more visitors by Christmas season, adding the resumption of buses will mean better tourism for the city, admitting that mass transportation is crucial. There were at least 250 to 300 trips for commuter buses to and from the city, and this gives a substantial contribution to tourism. Under the initially agreed guidelines governing the operation of interregional routes in the city, buses from NCR, Bataan, Zambales, Pampanga, and Tarlac area will pass through the expressways. A common pickup and drop-off point in the said 10 LGUs needs to be identified. Stopovers will only be allowed during medical emergency cases, and as an administrative control, driver or conductor substitution and pickup of passengers along the route shall not be allowed. The city will also limit the number of passengers allowed to travel to and from their jurisdiction daily. The corresponding number of bus units to be deployed to accommodate the allowed passengers will be based on the said number.
A health but declaration form will be required in checkpoints within Baguio City, La Trinidad, Itogon, Sablan, Tuba, and Tublay or Bliss areas. This report from Loren Alimondo.
In a joint advisory signed by Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong, La Trinidad Mayor Ramizalda, Itogon Mayor Victoria Palangdan, Sablan Mayor Manuel Munar, Tuba Mayor Clarita Salongan, Tublay Mayor Armando Lauro, the officials decided starting December 16 to 22, the entry to and between the blessed areas will be limited to travels for work or official business and for access to essential goods and services. At the border checkpoints, all Bliss stakeholders are enjoined to present valid government IDs together with health declaration forms, while health workers, uniformed personnel, members of the city, provincial, municipal contact tracing teams, and the COVID-19 task force need to present their valid government IDs only. Cargo, logistics services, and service providers will continue to be given unhampered passage through checkpoints. Non-resident travelers entering Bliss from other regions or provinces must present their registration form and medical certificates issued in their place of origin. In order to prevent the spread of the virus in Baguio City and the 5 Benguet towns, it was recommended that there should be border restrictions. With the enhanced border control, less travelers going out of Benguet towns were observed, added Benguet Provincial Police Office. Lauren Alimondo, SunStar Baguio.
As the court case of Madino Codasi proceeds, no sanctions have been meted to any Public Order and Safety Division personnel. This report from Joven Peralta.
Councilor Arthur Aladiu confirmed no communication from the office of Mayor Benjamin Magalong was transmitted to his office, nor the Baguio City Council, since the commitment to investigate the unfortunate incident between Codasi and the POSD weeks ago. Codasi filed a case at the City Prosecutor's Office and the Commission on Human Rights, as well as the Office of Magalong, for violations of the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons, cyber libel, and libel against the POSD. Codasi is a PWD, suffering from visual impairment who alleges maltreatment by the POSD. On December 14, Aladiu's call to summon the POSD with other City Hall officials was granted, which aimed to look at the legality of the entire organization and how to aid in legislation. The entire issue has been referred to the Committee on Peace and Order for further study and appropriation action by January 15, 2021. Joven Peralta, SunStar Baguio.
And in sports, a bill banning minors from joining in full-contact competitive sports may do more harm than good, according to a local boxing promoter.
Brico Santig of the Highland Boxing Promotions said children may lose interest in sports once a proposed bill, an act banning minors from full-contact competitive sports, filed by ACO Bicol Representatives Alfredo Garbin Jr. and Elizalde Cole, is approved. The boxing promoter, who was named Promoter of the Year by the World Boxing Council several times, said further safety measures should be placed by the government if its interest is to protect the minors from suffering injuries or even death. At least 13 national sports associations have drafted a position paper opposing the House bill. The Samahang Kickboxing ng Pilipinas, meanwhile, said banning minors in competitive sports would be detrimental to the country's grassroots program, particularly in Palarong Pambansa and the Batang Pinoy. Lawyer Wharton Chan, SKP Secretary General, told SunStar Baguio that competitive sports can be likened to other sports like gymnastics and motorsports that are prone to injury even with the safety measures that are in place before, during, and after competitions.
For more updates, visit us at our website and our official social media accounts. Working from home in Baguio City, this is Conway Copas, reminding you to grab a copy of SunStar Baguio, the only daily newspaper in Northern Luzon.